Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2019 horror comedy Tone Deaf, a film that is written and directed by Richard Bates Jr. and it stars Amanda Crew as Olive. We have Robert Patrick as Harvey, Haley Marie Norman, and we get an appearance as well by Ray Wise in this film. Now this is a film that focuses on a millennial called Olive, played by Amanda Crew, who is coming to a bit of a crisis in her life. She loses her job, she mutually ends the relationship with her boyfriend, and she's a pretty bitter and cynical person, and hasn't got an awful lot going on in her life. Her mother is some kind of hippie that lives way off after her father committed suicide. She doesn't have an awful lot going on in her life, and her friends encourage her to get out of the city for over the weekend to have a break, to try and reassess her life. So she decides to do that, and she inquires on this beautiful looking country house, and inquires on how much it costs to stay there over the weekend. They agree a fee, and when she turns up, this house is owned by Harvey, played by Robert Patrick, who essentially is a bit of a psychopath who has, as he explains himself in the film, tried many things in his life, but there's one itch he has never scratched, and that is what it feels like to kill somebody. And his plan basically is to get Olive in his country house and then plot to kill her and many others over that weekend, so that he can finally itch that scratch he's had for many years. So that is essentially the plot here of this film. Now, this film, like I say, it's a horror comedy, which is always a very difficult blend to get right, I think, horror comedies. And I would describe this as a very dark comedy. It's not written for laughs, this piece. It tries to be a bit clever and meta. It's got scenes where Robert Patrick is literally talking to the audience, so he goes a bit Ferris Bueller, shall we say. So he kind of explains his reasonings behind his decisions, his psychopathic decisions. He explains those through into the audience member, which is essentially is a lazy way really of giving you exposition, but it tries to make out that it's a bit, clever in how it does it. So it's essentially quite a simple plot that they try and dress up into something else to try and make it a little bit different and a little bit fresh. Now, there are aspects of this film that do actually feel quite fresh and interesting and new, and that is mainly down to the casting, because the two leads here, Amanda Crew as Olive and Robert Patrick, both give excellent performances, and they actually have good chemistry, even though they're not on screen an awful lot. But even when they're on screen separately, you really quite enjoy both their performances, especially Olive, who, like I say, plays this really bitter and sarcastic millennial, who doesn't have an awful lot of time for many people, including herself really. She's pretty depressed really when you actually analyse a lot that's going on in her life. But it's a really, I think, quite a nicely written character. And Robert Patrick's plays this psychopath with utter joy. You can see he does it with his tongue firmly in his cheek, but at the same time he's incredibly vicious and sinister and malicious at the same time, and he has these weird visions as well that don't make an awful lot of bloody sense. I mean, you'd probably need the director to explain what's going on with a lot of his visions, but it just enhances the fact that he's out of his mind quite clearly. And that's it really. It's Olive trying to negotiate, a weekend away, and Robert Patrick dealing with his desire to murder people, which you get to see. He doesn't go just after Olive and that's it. He actually goes after a few different people before he actually targets her, even though she's like the end goal. and it's a lot of fun to watch in a lot of ways. This film, however, I think it thinks it's cleverer than it actually is. This film, I think it thinks it's something radical and different and new, and it really isn't. It's actually quite a simple film that is enhanced with some interesting direction and some good performances, but it's ultimately a little bit like a meal that doesn't really fill you up. There are aspects of it missing. I think the script could have been developed a bit more. Both of them maybe could have been given a little bit more to do. There's a couple of side plots and stuff like with her and her mother that aren't particularly overly interesting, and her with her friends and stuff. I think they could have developed those a little bit more. So I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's ultimately quite an entertaining horror comedy. It is flawed, but I did find it quite entertaining for the most part, and it did make me laugh. Some of the cutting sarcasm that comes out of Olive's mouth in particular is funny, and some of the observations that Robert Patrick's character has towards millennials as well will strike a chord with many people of a certain age, i.e. around my age, in the 40s and above. It will strike a chord with some of us of a certain age. Not that we want to go out and murder millennials. So that's my review for Tone Deaf. Quite an interesting horror comedy that's worth checking out if you want to see something a little bit different, but don't be expecting anything of a masterpiece, that's for sure. Thanks for watching, everybody. Of course, I'll see you next time on Screen Stars.